Let's step out of the bright, noisy world for a minute, shall we? Welcome to this explainer. I've spent years, maybe too many years, buried in these texts studying the legend of the Pale Inquisitor. And today, we're exploring a deeply dark tragedy. We're looking at the ultimate cost of absolute purity. What actually happens when the desire for a perfect, unblemished existence turns inward and ends up crushing the very soul it was trying to protect? It's a haunting, incredibly heavy descent into the void. So let me guide you through the architecture of his despair. Let's jump right in. To really understand the Pale Inquisitor, we have to plunge straight into the thin, freezing air of his philosophy. He serves as our tragic co-narrator here, warning us, I am a wanderer and a mountain climber. I love not the plains. You see, the Inquisitor believes that to truly exist, to grasp any profound truth, you can't just sit comfortably down in the flatlands of life. The human spirit isn't some empty jar waiting to be filled up with idle chatter. For him, the pursuit of wisdom is this arduous, agonizing, vertical climb up jagged rocks. Act 1. The Ascent. The Ideal. Now, the Inquisitor views humanity through an incredibly harsh, uncompromising lens. On one side, you have what he calls the reading rabble. These are people who prefer the flat valley of the common tongue. For them, reading is just a soft cushion to pass the time. But the Inquisitor argues, cynically I might add, that a reader seeking only to pass the time is literally a thief of his own existence. They consume all this idle chatter just to forget the hollowness in their own chests. When everyone reads effortlessly, he claims the very air of wisdom gets fouled. Opposed to this is the writer of blood. This figure pulls himself up at the jagged rocks of the author's soul into the thin, cold air, writing in aphorisms and peaks. He doesn't want to be understood by the masses. He demands that we climb to the precipice with him. But here's where the climb becomes a tragic descent. The Inquisitor's entire foundational philosophy is a concept he calls purification through subtraction. Operating for eons as the architect of the grave, he believes holiness is never achieved by adding virtue. No, it's achieved by erasing human desire and individuality completely. It is a relentlessly bleak idea. He absolutely despises the chaotic noise of the human soul and seeks out a completely sterile spiritual vacuum. In this internal obsession, it quite literally weighs him down. Picture this cinematic visual, the Pale Inquisitor, drifting above a desolate structure known as the Iron Bridge. His physical appearance perfectly mirrors his crushing internal collapse. He's encased in heavy armor, etched with the sins of failed ancestors. But the most striking detail is his shoulders. They're draped in robes made entirely of heavy iron filings. And those filings act as a literal magnet, pulling in all the debris of human guilt floating around him. He's dragging this massive leaden banner through the ash, and it refuses to flutter because the spirit of the man carrying it was suffocated by his own rules a long time ago. Act 2. The Fall, the Paradox. Okay, so his catastrophic transformation actually begins at the gray mist of the Shattered Gate, right at the very edge of the void. There, he discovers this enchanted, pulsating emerald cross. Now, this thing doesn't belong in his world of leaden stillness at all, yet it somehow resonates with his necrotic devotion. The moment he grasps it, the cross shifts into a glowing emerald staff. But instead of granting him that absolute stillness he craves so badly, it triggers a dark apotheosis. The staff's energy, fueled by his scrupulous obsession with order, forces him to channel a terrifying new force, a corrupted wolf spirit. In an instant, he devolves from a spectral judge of stasis into the Inquisitor of the Overgrowth. He manifests a power called the Wild Verdant. This is a corrupted, twisted evolution of primal, eye-driven instinct that erupts into explosive, chaotic growth. And the tragic irony here is just absolutely devastating. Think about it. He spent an eternity using an internal scourge to purge every drop of wild, chaotic desire from his soul. Yet, by trying so violently to suppress the human spirit, he accidentally weaponizes the exact chaos he sought to destroy. The twilight glow of his emerald staff doesn't erase desire at all. Rather, it forces it into this rigid, lifeless growth. Wherever the Inquisitor walks, the Fisher King's wasteland doesn't heal. Instead, it gets completely overrun by iron-thorned briars and spectral vines. And the most poetic, heartbreaking detail? These vines are literally grown with the ink of regret. The very mess he dedicated his existence to cleaning up is now violently sprouting right out of the earth beneath his feet. He's completely become a prisoner of his own morality. His cage is made of living wood that never, ever blooms. As the source material beautifully describes it, it is a singular, rigid tapestry of life forced into the shape of a grave. He uses his emerald law to hunt down disharmonious thoughts, entangling them in a suffocating web of verdant iron. He embraced the wolf not to find freedom, but to make sure the wild noise of the soul was silenced by heavy, overgrown chains.
Act 3. The Erasure, the Void. So, this brings us to a massive philosophical question. What happens when the ultimate judge encounters a soul with absolutely nothing to judge? Right at the threshold of the void, the Pale Inquisitor finally stops drifting. He finds himself standing before the looming void-black silhouette of an entity known simply as the Black Knight.
Let's break down this profound contrast. On one side, the Inquisitor bears this massive ledger, literally wet with the ink of regret, his whole purpose defined by recording chaotic noise and disharmonious desires. He is burdened by memory and what we can call a necrotic superego. But the Black Knight? He has no ledger, no desires, and no self whatsoever. He is a total vacuum of individuality, representing the honesty of purity, a hollow grace. This is the crucial turning point. If a soul is truly a single blank page, a holy whole, the Inquisitor has nothing left to record. Without a transgression to anchor him, the Inquisitor's entire existence loses its magnet, like a magnet with no iron filings to attract. Encountering this completely blank soul renders our tragic judge entirely obsolete, threatening to dissipate him right into the gray fog. Paradoxically, for the Inquisitor, the Black Knight is not a monster. He is an accidental saint, a holy mirror. The Inquisitor actually casts his massive ledger aside, recognizing that a spiritual vacuum has finally been achieved. He views the Knight as the divine architect of purity. Look, a judge who feels hunger can be swayed, right? A judge with memory can be compromised by mercy. But the Black Knight is pure because he is literally nothing. He doesn't offer the messy, complicated grace of understanding flawed human souls. He simply offers the finality of total erasure. The tragic weight of his realization here is just absolute. He states, "He does not judge me for what I have done, but for the fact that I still am. Simply existing, with all our inherent noise, is a transgression in the face of absolute purity." The Inquisitor finally sees the ultimate paradox. If you edit the spirit down to a single perfect blank page, you are left with a void that actively demands your own non-existence. This is the terminal point of perfectionism. He doesn't even draw his sword. A spectral bell tolls into the mist as the Inquisitor kneels, his robes of iron filings clattering against the cold stone of the gate. He bows his head. He actively seeks to be crushed and consumed by this perceived perfection. He wants to be stripped of his heavy armor, his emerald staff, his tragic memories. He just wants to become a husk of perfect, law-abiding nothingness, as clean and as silent as the void itself. And so I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we watch the Inquisitor fade into the gray fog. In our own pursuit of absolute perfection, do we risk erasing the very noise that makes us alive? The messy drafts, the chaotic desires, the human rabble that the Inquisitor so deeply despised. Perhaps that is the exact beautiful texture of life itself. When we try to edit ourselves down to a flawless blank page, we might just find ourselves kneeling before the void. Thank you for walking through this atmospheric explainer with me. I hope this dark mythology leaves you with something profound to chew on today. Keep climbing your mountains, for sure, but don't forget to appreciate the plains.